Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So sorry for a slight delay between episodes regarding Fatal Knockout. This is a bit more of a general type video which people who aren't interested in Fatal Knockout at all can take on board, but this is also a Fatal Knockout dev diary. It'll all make sense, but this video is pretty much just about like 5 lessons which have come up off the top of my head. So who knows, it might be 6, might be 4, could be 12, probably not 11 though. Lessons that I have learned over going to UK Games Expo the past 2 years, and that you could potentially take on board to make your first time experience, or whatever time experience, less frictionless, and also hopefully, more frictionless, and hopefully more enjoyable, and you get more out of it. That's kind of the thing. Like UK Games Expo is an expensive convention to exhibit at, and you want to try and get as much out of it as possible, which might not be money, which is something which I'm going to go into in a bit. But yeah, so the first thing which I want to talk about, just to get straight into it, is just prep as much as possible, which is something which most people will be doing anyway, but there are some things which you might not think to prep about. And this sort of goes into my other points, which I'll talk about in a bit. But making sure you've got enough stock, making sure you've got stuff to make your table, make your stand look nice, such as like stand-up banners. I would recommend if you're in the UK, using a website called Solo Press. They do stand-up banners, you know, the ones that you see where they like roll out and then you can stand them up and they're really tall. They do them. Cheapest you can get is like 30 quid, and it's really good quality. So I recommend them. Obviously not sponsored. I mean, look at the number of subs I got on my channel. I would, so just try and make your stand look as nice as possible. Make sure you book a hotel room as early in advance as possible, because these hotels near the NEC in Birmingham, they know that they're near the NEC in Birmingham, and when they see that there's a big convention coming up, their prices go up. So booking it like 3 or 4 months in advance, which is about the time that you'll get like confirmed dates from UK Games Expo peeps, like the dates of when the convention is happening. So if you can make it so that you book pretty much straight away, there are lots of hotels which are probably about 10 minutes away from the NEC, that don't charge until you arrive there. And that obviously means that you don't have to have the money straight away, which is good because, say, for example, the convention is in June. They might announce the dates in January, straight after Christmas, where you probably don't have that much money. And those are like sort of the main things. I would also say have business cards. People love business cards. Probably about 50% of the people that come to your stall, if they don't buy something from your stall, they will ask for a business card. Something which I also learned from the peeps next to me, which were Salva Games. Let me just quickly whip that up and double check. But yeah, regardless of what their name is, which I will get in a sec, they had sell sheets. Now, if you don't know what sell sheets are, they're essentially just like an A4 piece of paper which sells a particular product or range of products of your game. And I was speaking to the guy there, and what he said to me was that I came to this convention with like 500 sell sheets, and half of them are gone. I didn't give out half of them, but people just come up, like retailers who are not looking for you to sell your game to them, because you can dress it up, you can lie about it, you can do whatever. They're just looking for like a sell sheet, something which they can gauge, and something Savania Games is what they're called. I'll quickly whip that up on the OBS. Just a little. I really love being with these guys. At the convention, they were super nice. They had if you wanted to go all out, you could do what they did. They had an espresso machine. They had a bunch of sweets that you could take. One of my games, Blockers, is very like kid friendly, so I'm thinking about doing that. But yeah, like these guys were great to be with, and they really prepared. But they had sell sheets, and apparently like people just like incognito from like retailers, maybe manufacturers, just took a sell sheet, and they're going to get emails based off that action at some point, which is obviously really important. But yeah, moving on. So next point is use it to playtest upcoming games. Now, a lot of people which I saw don't necessarily do that. They demo games for sure, but it's games which are already out in an attempt to sell games. Now, UK Games Expo, which is another point which I'll get onto in a minute, is very difficult to make a profit on. If you're a first-time exhibitor, it's easier because, assuming they're still doing it, you get a first-time exhibitor discount, which like discounts. I think the discount is like ridiculous. Like it's like you get like 100 quid off, or like it's a percentage off, but like maybe it's like 20% off or something like that, which does actually help a lot with your profit. Yeah, like demoing games which are already out is great, and it's great for feedback for your future products. But like if you've got a game which is in the works, for example, I don't know if I've actually shown this in any devlog at the moment, but we got like a prototype copy of Fatal Knockout. Yeah, if you've got a game in development, take it to UK Games Expo, dedicate a part of your stall to it, so you have chairs which people can just sit down and start reading the rule book whilst you're maybe selling the game to someone else, so you're not there, like you've gone Subway or something like that. Sorry about that. And you can get the most honest, brutal, helpful feedback you could get from anywhere. Like, I demo this on Tabletop Simulator all the time to get playtests. I like to get feedback from playtests. And the most positive, the most helpful feedback, apart from one playtest on Tabletop Simulator, that I have got has been from UK Games Expo. And it was just simple feedback like, oh, like this mechanic is a bit cumbersome. Oh, this doesn't quite make sense in the iconography, which is a big part of Fatal Knockout, obviously, because it's an iconography-based game. But one guy, if I can actually get the cards out here, one guy suggested, oh, this is cool, isn't it? Like, this is the 2 stages. Very cool. I'll probably do like a video just on the prototype at some point. But one of the key parts of the game is that during the planning phase, when you're putting cards down, you lay them all face down. And so you can end up having 6 cards face down because each player can play up to 3 cards face down. Which means that, especially when you get to like the second and third card, you kind of have no idea what's going on. And you're kind of just guessing what the other player is going to do. And there's only 14 cards in each player's deck, so you can card count and you can have an idea of what type of cards are down. But he suggested that the first card of each planning phase is played face up. Now, I was slightly skeptical of this idea at first, but I'm like, that is such a twist on the game, and all it involves is changing half a line on one rule in the rule book. That I'm like, I've got to try it out. So I put it on Tabletop Simulator, completely changed the game for the better, makes it a million times better. Honestly, like, it's incredible, and I wouldn't have got that if I didn't take it to UK Games Expo. And that's just the value of it. And also you can do other things as well, like marketing stuff, so that, like, for example, with Fatal Knockout, I had one of those roll-up banners, which I mentioned, which had a QR code to scan it, and then you go to the pre-launch page of the Kickstarter, which will be in the description of this video, by the way. So you can do that. You can be like, oh, if you really like the playtest, or they gave you some feedback, and I was saying I'm definitely going to include that feedback, so they're eager to want to see how the game turns out based on their feedback. Then they can scan the QR code, and then they'll be notified when the Kickstarter goes live, and then that's a potential backer. So there is that as well, if you are more interested in that side of things, or just as interested, like me. But yeah, anyway, so take your games to get playtested. There is also a playtesting area at UK Games Expo. I would have been there this year, but we only had 2 people on the stall, and I couldn't just leave my partner, Meg, to just be on the stall by herself, because there's a lot of games that we've got to sell. But yeah, third thing, don't expect a profit. Now, I've alluded to this a couple of times, but in my first convention, I just made a profit because there was 4 of us and 3 of us, not including me. So basically everyone apart from me paid for their own hotel room, paid for their own petrol, paid for their own food. So it was literally just my expenses, which were very, very small in comparison to like paying for other people. Just my expenses on top of the fee for the stall, which was a very small stall compared to the stall I had this year. Like, it was 1/3 of the size, and also I had the first time exhibitors discount. With that first year, I made a slight profit of like 50 quid, something like that. I didn't pay anybody who helped me, which I feel bad about. But this year I did it properly. My partner Meg helping me. I paid for the hotel, paid for the food, paid for everything because she's helping me, and I still couldn't afford to pay her, so like I would at least make it so that she didn't have to spend any money, you know what I mean? So there's that, plus the store was mega expensive compared to last year's. well, the year before, sorry, and then having to pay for food at the convention, which is also very expensive because it's inside a convention. It all leads to you need to sell a lot of games to make a profit. So I would go in trying to make it so that like your aim isn't just to make a lot of money, but it's also to do other things as well, which is something which I'll get into. But like one of the things, for example, is to play a test, get feedback. The overall experience of going to a convention is like huge. You get to meet a lot of people, which I'll get into. But I would just lower your expectations of making a profit and make it so that when you're there, you're not stressed about making a profit. There are a few people, a few souls around me, well, like probably within like a 6-table vicinity, that whenever I walked over, they were really trying to hard sell copies, like really trying to just shove it into the hands and make a sale, because they're probably stressing out that this is a hobby and they're not, this, in their mind, they might have wasted a lot of money on this convention. And so being able to get something else out of it, even for your own sort of mental state, is very important. But yeah, moving on. Make sure you have enough stock of the games you want to sell. I've got a game called Langskip, which was a game which I last published on Kickstarter, and it is by far, a country mile, the most popular. Will you just arrest the people, please? I don't know if you can hear that, but there's alarms going off, like sirens. Yeah, bring enough stock, because Langskip, which is by far my most popular game, sold out. I didn't have that many copies, to be fair, because there was 2 print runs, and the first print run was for the Kickstarter people, and I had about 10 to 12 copies left over, and I just took them to the convention. Sold out on Friday. Like, and it's Friday. The convention is 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I didn't sell out, I probably would have made a profit, which is crazy, because Friday it wasn't as busy as Saturday, and Saturday was like super busy, and Sunday was not too bad. But like, what my point is that I could have guaranteed to sell at least 30 copies of the game, and at 20 quid each, that's 600 quid, which would have definitely covered the stall and started to cover the hotel stuff and food stuff as well. And then I've got other games which are selling as well, and that would have probably made it so I broke even. But yeah, bring enough stock, because I would have had the option if I would have pestered the manufacturer enough to get the copies done. But I was overly focused. This is sort of the flip side of what I was saying before. I was overly focused on making sure I had the prototype Fatal Knockout ready. So I didn't even bring up Langskip to the manufacturer. It's not like I asked and he said no. I genuinely just didn't bring it up. I wanted them to focus solely on making sure Fatal Knockout was ready for UK Games Expo. I saw it as a huge opportunity for feedback. But on the flip side, it probably would have been a good idea as well to just like mention, like, oh, if you got time as well, can you do another small print run of Langskip, please? But yeah, make sure you got enough stock. It's part of that planning, part of that prep. You just got to prep for everything. And finally, this is probably the soppiest one, but it is the biggest benefit of going to UK Games Expo by far. And it's not something you even have to be an exhibitor for, but it does help being an exhibitor, because then people come to you as well. But it's make friends. Seriously, the biggest pro that's ever come out of going to any convention for me, it doesn't even have to be UK Games Expo, it could have been Tabletop Scotland, Glasgow Games Fest, Play Expo Manchester, just any convention which I've been to. The biggest takeaway from any of those conventions has been the friends which I've made and the connections which I've made, because like, you can shoot someone an email, you can send someone a DM on Facebook or Twitter, but it doesn't necessarily have the same impact as talking to them face to face, getting your passion across, getting your personality across, making you memorable, making you someone which they want to help or be helped by, or just to become friends with, you know. Like, I've made so many friends, like recently, for example, with Savannah Games, with Stone Saw Games, James and Paul over there. We've now been in contact for over a year, and it's been great, just that sort of relationship. Recently made connections with Gameland, and ShipQuest, and Spiral Galaxy, and just all these companies and just all these people. Happy Violet Games, a small indie board game company which have a really good game coming out soon. I'd follow them on Twitter, definitely. But just all these friends that you just make, and it's just like, it's so high value, compared to any money. Like, if I had the option to be able to, like, double the amount of connections which I get at UK Games Expo, but at the cost of not making any money at the convention, I would do that, you know? That is something which, yeah, like, seriously, it's super, super, super valuable. But it is also nice to make some money as well. I won't sugarcoat that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, to be honest. There is one thing which I should have mentioned during the prep as much as possible, and that's if you are exhibiting, it is worth, regardless of how small your stall is, to try and get a pass to park up right next to the NEC and set up the day before. Because if I quickly go here and then do this, so this is where you park. Can I do this? Yes, this is where you park for UK Games Expo. You probably actually park around here, if you can see that. And then you have to go all the way here, all the way underneath, all the way around, all the way underneath, all the way along here, and then all the way along here, and then through here, and then up here, and then you come into the entrance here. That is about a 15-minute walk, and these two bits under here are super, super steep because you're going underneath the road, and then you come back up and you do a big curve, and it's super steep again, and you go around here. Now, or you could just, like, I don't know where the loading bay is. It's something, like, really close. Like, I don't know. Where is it? I don't even know where it is. But anyway, the whole point is that it's, like, right next to wherever you're going to be, pretty much. Like, Hall 1, so I'm pretty sure it's, like, going to be, like, here or here or something like that where you can park up. But anyway, I didn't do it this year, which is why I don't know exactly where it is, or the year before. And as soon as I got to... So it just got out of car park. I had all my games on a trolley. And I was going like this, going down, really happy that I got a trolley, because the year before I just carried everything like an idiot. I mean, I was an idiot this year as well. But yeah, I went under, started to go underneath the road, and then it was just a bit too steep. And then it hit a jagged bit of pavement, and then just everything went everywhere. And this was about 30 minutes before convention was supposed to start, and we hadn't even got there yet. And we had another, like, 15, 20-minute journey. Plus, I had to now pick up all the games, which just went over everywhere, all over the floor. Thankfully, a couple of convention goers helped me with that. But that's just one of the things which I should have said during the prep notes. That, like, yo, like, maybe you should look into doing the parking thing. That's something I'm definitely going to do next year. If there was any hard and fast rules that I say you have to abide by from this video, is that. Also, one other thing as well, there isn't a potential problem with playtesting at conventions, and that's people may rate your game based off an early prototype. For example, Fatal Knockout, the initial prototype was made on the Friday of the convention. Well, it was made on Thursday of the convention. It was brought to the convention on the Friday by the manufacturer, Dice Sports Limited. And so, like, I'd never seen the physical prototype before. And there was a couple of things wrong with it. For example, I forgot to ask for a certain type of token to be made, and one of the bits of iconography wasn't super clear. And one of the first playtests I had, which is the reason why I mention it, is because I'm pretty sure, like, this was, like, the only, like, overwhelmingly negative experience anybody had with Fatal Knockout, which might drive them to rate it badly on Board Game Geek. But yeah, so, like, during the first playtesting session, this guy experienced both of these issues where they were really confused that there wasn't a shield token, and they were really confused about a bit of iconography, and they were one of the types of players which values winning over... Like, basically, if they don't win, then they have less fun, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, obviously, people have a lot of fun if they win, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, a very, very competitive person, I'll say. And when I said, oh, no, that's not how that icon works, it works differently, they got quite upset about that. And so that's just something you gotta, like, look out for. Like, there is potential that they could go and rate it on Board Game Geek if it's not quite ready. But then again, I would take this 5.0 if it meant that I got to get all the other feedback that I got, you know. Like, it's not a massive deal, but if, like, a pristine Board Game Geek page is your is something which you really, really care about, then that is just something to consider. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm pretty sure I've gone over everything. Overall, like, I mean, apart from throwaway things, like, probably don't get Subway because, like, it's really expensive, but also it's really nice and you get really hungry at the convention. If you can, just bring your own sandwiches. Like, that's probably the best thing to do if you can be bothered to do that. Um, and yeah, just like overall, just have a good time as well. Because like I said, if unless you're a big studio, or unless you have a banging game which it just flies off the shelves, you're probably not going to make a profit because it's just so expensive to go to UK Games Expo because of the footfall. Like I think the stats this year were like 40,000 across the 3 days or something like that, 40,000 people. But yeah, anyway, cool. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you want to see specific things about Fatal Knockout, and let me know. If you want to see specific things about working in the games industry, then let me know as well. Because I've got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm also working on a video at the moment because about Game Republic, which is a Yorkshire / north of England university games course competition. So like all the universities who do a games course in the north put together, well, like show off the games which they made, like in team project modules and stuff like that. And we went to that as a team to show off Lethal Deal, which I've probably talked about briefly, but it's an FPS deck building game. And yeah, so I recorded some stuff from that, and I would love to share my experience of that because it was very like highs and lows and a lot to learn. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.